Welcome to the Diasporani podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mahika, and you'll hear Caprice in a minute. We've been best friends for over a decade, and we have wildly different and similar tastes in movies and shows. Every Friday, we'll be discussing something that we've watched, so I hope you'll stick around and subscribe for more because I have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays with YouTube shorts in between, so stick around.
Okay, so we decided to watch Totally Killer as our first movie for this lovely podcast. This was actually a suggestion from Caprice. So if this turns out to be a nightmare, blame her and her alone.
Hey.
So,
No.
so this is what Prime had to say about Totally Killer. I have to say, for Prime, they have the worst fucking descriptions for movies ever. The number of times that
They
they've
do?
spoiled a movie, they have horrendous descriptions. I'm getting too heated about this. But so this is what Prime had to say. When the infamous Sweet 16 killer returns 35 years after his first murder spree to claim another victim, 17-year-old Jamie accidentally travels back in time to 1987, determined to stop the killer before he can start. What did you think about Totally Killer?
Well, I figure I may as well just start from the beginning. So, we start with a podcaster taking people on a tour around the city. Oh gosh. To highlight where a killer has killed three of the Mollies in the town. I think that's like a testament to where true crime has taken us in 2023. So this movie was created, or the setting is at least in 2023, and I thought it was really interesting. He seems to be aware that true crime has its limitations, but he is all in. All of the participants have dressed up and are wearing the masks of the killer, and the podcaster is just standing at the restaurant saying, "This is where this person liked to eat their food," and then you can see a waiter come out offering them food and criticizing the podcast, saying that they would have liked to see more killings. It was just a very interesting take on the serial killer in this town. I thought it was a funny start to the movie. What did you think?
I thought it was hilarious. I also think that for a lot of execs, like it's just like a thing where they're like, podcasters are fucking useless people that like they have no qualifications. They just like go around with a microphone, which is true for a lot of podcasters, I won't lie. And I thought that I thought that it was funny, and it's also like a comedic take on the exploitation of true crime podcasts.
100%. Yeah.
Which he seemed like a sad little man, but the fact that they were like wearing the mask, like I thought it was a really good way to start the movie, especially considering where it was headed, where
It's gonna be
ended.
taking us. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
100%.
That's true.
100%.
And then we cut to I want to call her Sabrina, but it's not Sabrina. Her name is Jamie in this movie. She's getting ready to go out, and she and her mom have a bit of back and forth. And Sabrina, Jamie, I might do that multiple times.
Okay.
But Jamie is a teenager. She's got that teenage attitude. Her mom is a little bit protective, maybe a little bit too protective, given that she experienced significant trauma as a child, witnessing the deaths of two of her best friends. And yes, you have to be aware of like your child growing up, you want them to be safe, but her mom is particularly cautious given what she's experienced. So I understand why Jamie is kind of pushing back a little bit, but I think that she was also quite harsh, saying she just needs to get over the deaths of her friends. Oh,
I thought it was, this is like white people back and forth. Like it would just been like a smack to the head for like the rest of us if we talked to our mom like that. Yeah.
And the mom even says, "I would never talk to my mom like that." She's like, "Well, you don't talk to your mom anyway." Zinger.
Zinger. Oh my gosh, yeah. I thought that the mom was a lot like kinder than I would be, considering like the daughter was just so disrespectful in the beginning. It drove me crazy. And the dad was like kind of hilarious though. Like with he comes out wearing this shirt that has like a picture of a really muscular, Adonis-like body on it. It just really put a smile on my face. I like these tropes of like these useless but also like harmless dads. I think it's kind of he was definitely giving like Phil. I was about to say Phil Dumpster. What's his last name?
Dunphy.
Dunphy. Dunphy. um, yeah, and the wife is played by Claire Dunphy, not
Yeah,
Dumpster, but yeah, and she has like a really like neurotic, like chaotic energy that makes so much sense for somebody that is like you said recovering from trauma from when they were 17 and is still holding that in their body. Like she just has the strain of the veins in her neck and like she's just going at, 1,000 times speed. I thought it was a good casting choice, I thought for
I
sure.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that there's plenty of crossovers between Claire's character and Pam's character. And you can see that as older adults,
Mm,
not Pam as a child, but we'll get there.
yeah.
So I thought that was, yeah, like you said, it was really interesting casting there.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and then we see that Jamie is heading out. She's going out to meet with her friend, Amelia, and the dad is going to be taking them out. So, they hop into the car and they go to Amelia's house. What do you think about their back and forth?
I thought it was like kind of sweet. It was just like an adorable little exchange. Although
Mhm.
like Jamie is like a massive dick. I don't remember us being like that when we were teenagers. Like I don't think that
Yeah,
we didn't have the privilege of being that obnoxious.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah. I was thinking too, like we walked everywhere, or we took the bus, or we just didn't go. So for her to be like to have this attitude, which of course, like as an audience, there were parts that were funny, but for her to have the attitude and stuff, I was just eh. And then
Mm,
when you cut to what happens to her mom, then you're like, oh, this girl really should be feeling like shit. This is some karma now.
oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So while the two friends are out, the
Mhm.
mom is attacked and is killed in her own home. And turns out that it's the same killer that was killing people 35 years ago. I really like how the mom fought. She was
Yes.
prepared. She
Hmm.
had guns, knives hidden. She really
Yeah.
fought, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. She died tragically.
She did.
And I think that the way the school handled the death is peak uselessness. When people can like make fun of schools and how things need to be improved, and there has to be
Yeah.
people who actually demonstrate their care,
Hmm.
or have counselors in the school.
Hmm.
This is a prime example as to why they handled it so terribly. The gym teacher said, "Knives away, run away." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Is that useful at all?
I don't know what
Um,
you're talking about. That's gonna be my method moving forward. Knives away. I thought it was
Knives
really
away,
the
run away.
best the best self-defense lesson I've ever seen in my life. When you're in trouble, just run away. What do you mean? Someone pulled out a gun, run
Run
away.
away.
Like, yeah, you got shot because you didn't run fast enough.
God, it reminded me of New Girl, and Jess says just say no to sexual advances as a teacher. And say no. You're like,
Shut it
lady,
down.
shut it down. Shut it. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
That's not
goodness.
useful advice. Um, yeah, so we learn about the relationships that persisted throughout
Hmm.
the town, and I think this
Yeah.
is really, there are unique challenges that come with living in a small town, and having people stay in their small town. Uh, Plenty of people decide to move for whatever reason, but it seems like everyone who is raised there stayed, or they returned and they're pursuing their career in the same town. So you can see how everyone knows everyone. Family feuds pass through the generations, and even when the children are interacting with the adults in the community, they're saying, I know my dad, you know my dad. Well, of course I know my dad, but you know my dad, you've always had a problem with them. Kara is the chief in current times in 2023, and Jamie is giving her some back talk, saying, you know, look, Kara, you never liked my dad, so, and you know, she gave her a fuck you, you know, and then she stormed away. And of course Jamie is going through it at the moment, so I completely understand. But it is it's tricky. It's tricky when you're trying to manage people's children, but they're kind of like family.
Yeah. I feel like I just have to specify she's a chief of police. Like, I feel like there are a lot of people out there who just like call themselves chief and stuff, but like she actually does have like a proper designation. It's just that she's useless in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we're gonna get to it later, but I really enjoyed the casting of the children versus their parents. Once we do get back into time and we see what their parents are like, I thought that was like a really fun element of the movie. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, no, that's what I had to say there. When she finally gets home, she realizes that there was a clue that was left behind, and it says that you will be next one day, and it seems to be a note that was left with her mother's body, or pardon me, it was a note that was left. Who had the note again?
It was the podcaster. So the podcaster met with her and gave her the note and said that this was left in your mom's locker back when the murders happened when she was 17. Yeah.
Yeah, because Jamie and what's his name? His name is Doug, I believe. Doug met up at a cafe because she wanted to know more about the killings that happened in the past. And like, we learned that he's not only a podcaster, he was trying to investigate who the killer actually was. And that's part of why he continued to keep doing what he was doing, running the tours, just doing his best to understand the case in and out, because we know that the police have given up trying to find the killer. So what's after that? Jamie and Amelia meet up.
Yes. Wait, what did they do? Did they get high?
No, they didn't get high. Oh my gosh. Jamie and Amelia meet up at the carnival site, and it turns out that Amelia is a genius and is using her own mother's notes to build a time machine. Next thing you know, there's a killer. Killer comes, attacks the two. Jamie escapes by using the time machine before she's able to properly get away. The killer stabs the time machine, and next thing you know, she's traveling through time. She lands with 35 years on the same day. Was it the same day? Yeah, the same day. And she opens up the door, and 1987 presents itself. It feels like it was a surreal moment. You're hit immediately with the color, with the clothing, with the hair, with the music. And you have to keep in mind that the carnival was dead at the time when Amelia was building her time machine. When Jamie lands in 1985, it's bumping. There's people out and about celebrating, enjoying the rides and the games and eating. It's an incredibly different environment.
Yeah, 100%. I have to say though, in the scene before we get to Jamie using the time machine, Amelia was the most useless person. Like, not like I would be any better if you were being chased by a killer, but the fact that she just stood there, she stood in one spot, like her feet were rooted to the ground, and she was just like, help, not doing anything, sis. Like, we're not in the past. You have your cell phone. Like,
Exactly.
do something.
And we all know that if you're in danger, you don't yell help, you yell fire.
Fire. Ugh.
She was incredibly useless, though, I gotta say. Um, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
goodness. Yeah, and then I completely agree with what you were saying. And like when she gets out of the time machine and she sees that guy that's wearing like a bikini inspector shirt or something, I
Yeah.
swear to God, one of my uncles has a shirt like this. And I remember seeing it often on like family trips and being like, "Oh yeah, this is normal?"
Oh,
What?
it's
Or it's
so
like
gross.
FBI, like federal body inspector. I can't remember
Boob,
what it's.
booby
Boob.
inspector.
Yes.
I know, I know. Jamie does say your shirt is very problematic, but what person in the late 80s is going to understand that? They'll be like, "Girl, what's your problem? I'm just expressing myself."
Mind you, this is coming from a girl that just yelled at her mom to get over her traumas. So like where we're putting our problematic labels, it is what it is, honestly.
Precisely, precisely. Oh my gosh. Um, so I thought it was actually interesting. We learned more about how this time machine lore works, but I immediately thought, oh, what happened to her body in 2023? Is the
Mm.
killer stabbing her right now? What's up? But it does seem that she did travel through time. Her body and the
Mhm.
time machine itself disappeared altogether.
Mhm.
So she's currently safe, and we we have a really interesting interaction with a person at the carnival who's with their 3 kids. She's smoking. She's dressed to the nines in a tracksuit, a fancy looking tracksuit. And again, I was just like hit with all of the norms from back then. Um, the smoking that's allowed in the car, the use of drugs at the time, and the casual nature of safety. I think
Mm.
that just is really undermined in the late 80s.
Right.
We see Jamie try and integrate herself into the school by saying that she is a exchange student from Canada. And Canadians represent. Um, and she's immediately given a timetable and said, "You're missing gym class." There are no questions asked. No ID was asked for. Everyone was very lax. It was very surprising, but you just have to move forward with the plot and the story. So, um, she gets dressed for her gym, and she's met with all the people that we need to know to move forward with the story. She meets her mom, who is Pam Miller, young Pam Miller.
Mhm.
And we meet, who else is it? It is Heather and
Mimi.
Mimi and Lauren. And they're the popular girls at the school. They call themselves the Mollies, and they are cruel. they're
Mhm.
not very nice to people. They're
Yeah.
the catty mean girls. And Jamie's shocked. She thought that her mom was as sweet as she is, well, as sweet with bunny ears as she is now in 2023, but it's not quite the case. What do you think about that scene?
I thought it was really strange that she like automatically was like I don't know why. Like if I saw my mom 35 years in the past, I wouldn't call her Ummi. Like it would
Mm,
feel too weird because like she would be my age. Like it just
yeah,
35, okay, whatever. However the math works out. If I saw her at my age, I just thought that was like a really funny like thing that kept happening where she's like, "Oh my God, Mama Sita." I'm like, "Oh no, this is
yeah, it was
terrible."
so cringe. Oh, because you wouldn't look at her and see that's my mom.
No.
She looks completely different. So how are you
Yeah.
making that mistake? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I still look to this day I look at relatives and I'm like, how are we related? This doesn't make sense. And I've known them my whole life. So
Yes. Oh gosh, yeah, I
uh
feel you there.
yeah.
My mistake. It's not Lauren who's part of the group. That is Amelia's mom. We meet
Mm.
Lauren. She's so sweet, but it's Tiffany, Melissa, and Pam who are part of that Molly's group. My mistake. But yeah, so we realize that Lauren is also a genius, and she takes Jamie's story very well. She's very collected, very calm, and understanding that, if you want to build a time machine, there's going to be repercussions, and she's thought them all through. So she's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. It's actually quite nice to meet you. Hello, and welcome, and I will help you bring you back to 2023." So she's on board immediately, which was so nice to see. A little bit shocking, but really cool. I liked that part for sure.
Yeah, me too. She definitely gave me like Caprice vibes, like somebody that
Hey,
is not judgmental and that like saves the day and does not get enough screen time. Like it was just like three qualities where I'm like, oh my goodness. You know what? It's like it is kind of annoying when it's like very much a Bonnie from Vampire Diaries, where it's like, please, I need more. I needed more. She deserves a spinoff.
She does.
Yeah.
That character was amazing. And we learn later on that she kept a diary to keep track of exactly what's happened from the moment she met Jamie up into 35 years later.
Yeah.
And I want to see that in film, or I want to see that as a TV show. Like, I want to know what happened in that meantime, because so much went down. And she's an incredibly interesting character. But yeah, like you said, we only got a sad glimpse of her before the time travel, and yeah, we don't get too much more afterward.
Yeah, fleeting.
Yeah. So then we go back in time and we realize that it's Amelia and the podcaster, Chris. I said his name was Doug, but it's Chris, that are working together to try and I know. It's very interchangeable. But Amelia and Chris are working together to try and fix the time machine and get Jamie back. So we learn a little bit more about him. He seems to be eclipsed by his dad, who is a famous journalist and a reporter on the television, and he's trying to do similar things as the child of a famous person. He has a bit of a chip on his shoulder, and he's using the story of the killer to try and become as renowned as his dad. And it's a little bit sad. But he's doing what he can, but it demonstrates his character.
Do you think that so he's a sad dude. Like that was really the vibe that I got from him. But do you think that if somebody makes a name for themselves where they are known for covering like a murderous season for their podcast, do you think that would have made him less sad if he wasn't focusing on just this town? Like if he had broadened his murdering horizons? Because I was trying to figure out, like, for other podcasters, like they're very successful, and like there's like I don't want to name like the ones I'm thinking of are like controversial ones, so I don't want to name them, but it's like every episode is a different murder, and then they make millions upon millions of dollars talking about this stuff. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I believe the way they framed Chris is someone who is isolated.
Right.
The people in the town don't respect him. He believes that he's doing something important, but that's not being recognized. And it seems to be his singular focus. And for that reason, he seems like a sad character. If we saw other glimpses to him, then perhaps it would make him a more well-rounded character. But he is very flat at the moment, and well, throughout the film, to be quite honest. And for that reason, I think that the portrayal is fine. If he was a podcaster who is experimenting with other forms of media, or was trying to do I don't know, write a book about the killing that happened in his town, if he was researching other mysteries, then maybe it would show that he has an interest, but he knows that the current story isn't going anywhere, so he has to go into other things.
I thought he was weird.
Fair enough. I
He
think
could
that's very
not pay
fair.
me to be alone in a room with him. Like on one
Yeah,
of his sad
yeah.
little tours. No, it's okay.
Oh. Yeah. Yes, so they end up at the party. The Lauren and Jamie decide that they're going to work together to try and prevent the killing of the first person, which I believe is Tiffany. And to do that, they do their best to infiltrate a house party that's taking place in the grade. And we meet Blake, and we already met Tiffany, but Blake, oh God. Blake is Jamie's father. Not knowing that it's her father, she looks him up and down.
Who is
Realizes that he's very hot. And then has to pull back a little bit when she realizes that's her dad. Tiffany and Blake are dating, but they're not faithful to each other. And Doug, that's the thing. We meet Doug because he is not allowed in the party. He's a very geeky, square-looking guy. And when Lauren and Jamie struggle to enter the party, Doug helps them by throwing them over the fence. And
Wait,
it
that
works.
was the other guy. Doug is
Doug?
Doug is the podcast. Doug was taking the photo. The other guy, what's the other guy's name?
Doug is
James?
young. He's the principal.
Wait,
He's the
what
principal.
the hell? What's the name of the guy that does the podcast?
That's Chris.
Oh my god!
Yeah, no, it was my mistake because I called him
I'm
Doug
so
at
sorry.
first. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
God.
I confused you.
Doug?
Doug.
That can't be right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a black
So
guy named
Doug.
Doug Summers.
I actually really like Doug. I liked his
Yeah.
energy. Definitely the type of person that we would be friends with in high school for sure. And yeah, you know what though? Like I cannot even fathom ever like climbing over a fence to get into anything. Like unless it's a zombie apocalypse, I'm not climbing over anything.
And it's not a chain link fence. It's not a fence that has places where you can prop your foot to climb it. You really do have to just jump and pull. And I do not have the upper body strength for that. I'd be finding an axe. I'd be finding a shorter fence, or I'd be, punching my way through the. Yeah, we're going home. Pretty much, yeah. Because we also meet the bullies. We meet Kara as a young lady. We meet Randy, who is a very dumb bully. And it's just very unlikable. So maybe I'd punch them. I don't know. I'm not a violent person, so I can't say I'd punch them. But I'd be finding other ways around. But thankfully, we got Doug. He's tall enough to help them over the fence.
We're just gonna Kool-Aid man our way through this house. That was like the sense that I'm getting. That's all you have to do. That's the only way. That you have to make an entrance. You have to make your presence known. Yeah. Exactly.
Precisely.
Makes sense. I like the way you sound like a disappointed parent when you're describing these people. You're like, yes, she's an unacceptable young lady. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But no, I agree.
It's hard to imagine adults as young people to begin with, and trying to keep in mind the individuals that we met earlier in the film and their younger versions. It's very, very interesting, which is why we need that spin-off that features Lauren. But it makes sense to see where they started and how they ended up.
Kids are assholes.
They really are. They really, really are.
There was a kid that came trick-or-treating yesterday, and then I went to give her some candy, and then she was like, she turns to her friend, she's like, oh, not again. And I was like, little girl, I am holding on by a thread. Please do not be disrespectful to me. I paused, and I had all these thoughts in my mind, and then I just put it in her bag, and I was like, next. I had a time.
What was she referring to?
I don't know. But her parents were behind her, so not I could do it. Not like I would do anything. I'm also not violent. Although us both saying this makes us sound like we're very violent people. Yeah. It's like when someone's like, I'm fine. You are not fine. But yeah, sorry. So keep going with the story. I interrupted.
Oh no. But I think I was at the point where Jamie was trying to get the three girls and to rile them up and be like, y'all are not safe. Please go home or stay away from this area of the house. But of course, none of them were listening. They were all drinking. Everyone at this house party was drinking, and they're all having a good time. Cut to Tiffany doing something on the side.
Tiffany doing some extracurricular activities on her boyfriend. Yeah.
Yes. In a bedroom, and she's doing her own thing. She did not listen to Jamie's request at all, and unfortunately, she's attacked by the killer. Very interesting scene because this is the 80s. Waterbeds did exist and were very popular at the time, and unfortunately she's stabbed on a waterbed. It's very very sad. So killing number 1 takes place, and Pam walks in while Jamie did her absolute best to try and fight the killer, to rescue her, but doesn't help. And then Pam walks in. Pam is shocked, and she also realizes, oh, you were right, we were in danger. The police show up and they're useless as usual, and then turns out that Lauren, Pam, and Jamie decide to look back at Pam's house and debrief, discuss what the heck's happening. And then Pam shows her teenage behavior to her mom. So we've come full circle. And it's very interesting to see. Jamie says to Pam, you should really be nicer to your mom. Very interesting, Jamie. Very, very interesting. Oh
no.
One thing I got to say about the death of Tiffany, that I can only imagine how terrifying it is to be killed at a party, surrounded by people, and no one is able to help you. Isn't that terrifying to think about?
Yeah. No, it is, especially on a waterbed, of all things to die on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Waterbed. Yeah.
Can you imagine if it was a waterbed that had like silk sheets on it? Like if she did somehow manage to like get her way up. It was her parents' bedroom, of all places to die. My mom would be pissed that I died in her bedroom. Not even that I died.
But she tried to have sex in her bed and was ultimately killed in her bed.
You deserve that for being so nasty.
Whatever decision making she was making, it was the wrong choice. Anyway, Jamie says she's psychic. She doesn't want to explain anything about the time machine, and Pam buys it. She's like, wow, tell me more about the future. What should we be expecting? Oh God. Lauren's just in there like, this is very, very strange.
Pam is not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and Jamie's very lucky for that, because if she was clever, there would be a huge problem. But
exactly. We cut to the 2023, and Jamie is leaving clues with this investigation, knowing that there's going to be some type of news broadcast. And it turns out that Jamie leaving clues after Tiffany's death is actually helping Amelia and Chris with fixing the time machine and figuring out who the killer might be. So that's kind of giving us more information about how this lore is working. Amelia is able to fix the machine, and Chris is helping, like I mentioned. They're realizing that time in the future is, that future and current time is conflicting with Chris is realizing that,
Mhm.
things are changing.
Yeah.
What's happening is conflicting with his own memories.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
he's realizing,
That was
something's up.
actually really interesting with the newspaper articles changing. Like I just thought that that was such a cool detail. And especially considering the fact that he knew every case inside and out, like he'd been doing so much work on it. And yeah, it was great, that part. I like these like little details where it's like, oh, this is shifting, that is shifting, but people are still dying. So
Yeah,
Jamie still has a lot of work to do with these
exactly.
fools whose lives she's trying to save. Yeah.
You don't get the sense of how time is passing in
Mm.
2023,
Mhm.
but we still know that, time is passing, people are working, they're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So we're back at school, like you mentioned, and it is Marissa, Heather, and Jamie that are mourning the death of one of their friends. They're in what seems like science class. We hear nonsense from Randy. Blake is pretending like everything is okay. And then Jamie's like, okay, well, we are still in danger. We did not
Mhm.
catch the killer. We should what did she suggest? We should sign. It was some type of signing a petition to to something for Tiffany's death, and she wanted to plant a tree to,
Yes.
to commemorate Tiffany. And the girls are like, "Oh, she didn't like nature. We don't know about planting trees." Oh,
Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, no. That was hilarious.
yeah, yeah. It was
Why?
very, very
You
sad.
like honestly though, like when you think back to the mean people in high school, like doesn't it kind of like give you flashbacks of like they like shoot down harmless suggestions? Like it would have taken 2 minutes to plan. Why am I getting so heated about a damn tree? But yeah, that
It's
that was how
true
I felt.
though. Like it's not hard to sign the petition. I don't remember what it was about. She wanted something to just demonstrate that you care. Sometimes it's not
Yeah.
enough to just be like, "Oh, it's really sad our friend died. Let's do
Yeah.
something about it." Some type of action.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, Jamie's suggesting that they don't go to the cabin
The cabin. Yeah.
for Marissa's birthday, that they should stay somewhere safe. And then Marissa suggested a condo. And then they're like, okay, yeah, let's do that. We have a sneak peek at a person named Lurch. His name is Damien Lurch. He's writing something suspicious in his notebook. And Jamie is realizing that he might be a suspect. He's looking a little bit creepy. And she realizes because she's paired with him in science class.
Yeah. And he looks like he hasn't showered for like 3 weeks.
That too.
He's giving grease.
That too. That is very true.
Hygiene, where? Like,
yeah. God.
You remember that scene in Twilight when Edward's like holding his nose? Like, this would be me walking around the hallways.
It's really bad. I don't know how teachers manage being around stinky teenagers.
Maybe they're stinkier. I don't remember what the teachers smell like, but maybe they smell worse. I don't know. Wait, what?
No, I'm talking about the students being stinky and how do teachers manage being in that environment.
I think they develop like nose blindness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or like maybe they do that Vicks trick that we talk about where like they put the Vicks under their nose.
Yeah, probably. Because
in elementary school though, I had teachers complain to the class and be like, you need to wear deodorant after your gym class. Y'all are nasty. This is the same like school where like teachers were throwing textbooks at students.
Oh, that is
yeah. Good times.
Gosh, elementary school. Such a weird time. And then high school is just even worse.
Oh, even worse, yeah.
Anyway, we know that Damien Lurch is the brother to the late Trish. She goes by a derogatory name, and I don't feel like saying that. So Trish died recently, it seems. She was hit by a car when she was drinking and driving, unfortunately.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Trish.
Yeah, R.I.P. R.I.P. So we cut to Jamie being picked up from somewhere. We don't know where she's staying. But
Oh, she's staying with Lauren. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. She's picked
Yeah.
up at Lauren's house. Lauren wasn't invited, which I think is kind of rude.
I think they're racist, honestly, but that's just me.
But in another way, it's like, why subject Lauren to an unsafe situation?
That's true. That's true.
But anyway, Jamie is picked up. The four of them head to this condo. 30 seconds later, we realize the condo is the woods. A cabin in the woods. Jamie is pissed. She's like, what the actual fuck? I told you that we can't be in the middle of nowhere because we have to worry about the serial killer on the loose. And the girls are not concerned, actually.
No.
They just want to know if someone brought alcohol.
Yeah.
And then we realize a truck is pulling up. They're scared for a few seconds, and then we realize, oh, it's just the guys and Kara. So it turns out to be a very chaotic evening.
Mhm.
Someone brings the alcohol, another person brings weed brownies, and of course, no one is listening to the concerns of Jamie, and people get intoxicated in multiple ways. Jamie is kicked out of the house because she's being too square and too much of a granny, and everyone is doing their thing in the house. Next thing we know, Jamie looks up, she sees an open window, a window that was closed before, and she's thinking, oh no, they're
The air conditioning.
They're wasting so much air conditioning.
Global
We need to
warming.
save the planet.
Plant more trees.
Oh God, yeah. Well, what you gonna do when you're stuck outside, Migo? What are you gonna do?
You scale the walls. There's no other option. You find the sturdiest pipe and you start pulling. That's all you gotta do.
And she kind of does that. She tries to find some way to a window and get somebody's attention, and no one lets them in. No one lets her in. People are looking for the pizza. I don't know why Kara's looking in a bedroom for pizza, but she's looking in the bedroom for the pizza. Jamie's knocking on the window saying there's someone in the house. They're like, bitch, go away. Ooh, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course. I've been swearing. Yeah.
Okay. So she's like, bitch, bye. And so Jamie's like, oh fuck, let me find another window. And then she gets to, who else does she go to? I think she gets to Blake. Is it Blake and Pam, or was there somebody else before them?
Maybe she saw them flirting for a bit because like Pam is like, I'll make you pizza, and like it's just like he is such a Neanderthal. Like I don't even know this freaking mouth breather why anyone would be attracted to him. He has long hair and I don't care. Like it is just it was very bleak.
Yeah.
Also, his girlfriend just died. Why do you want pizza? Why are you eating, bitch? But that was stark.
He's gotten over that so fast.
Yeah.
But I think the saddest moment was when Pam sliced her hand, and he cared for Pam so deeply and so kindly by sandwiching 2 pieces of bread between hands to capture all of the blood. I thought that was the most ridiculous scene. It's funny.
I was expecting him to put like butter on it. Like I was expecting.
Hold on, just let me get the butter knife. I need to scrape it off. Scrape on a nice layer. Oh, gosh. So, Jamie sees what happens, and she doesn't make her way into the house yet. She tries another door, and it turns out that that's Heather's room. Heather's taking a pass out nap upstairs, and suddenly we see the killer. And the killer they're approaching Heather, and Jamie's trying her absolute best to get their attention, but it doesn't work out. I think this is when Jamie made her way back downstairs. Pam and Blake let Jamie back in. They run up to Heather's room and they fight with the killer. They manage to, get a few hits in, but still Heather was stabbed, and unfortunately she dies. The other people also got injured, but no one else is seriously injured. Well, Blake is stabbed, actually. Blake is stabbed, Pam's face gets smashed. The killer is definitely injured, but ultimately Heather is the one that dies, and that is not expected. We expected Marissa to be killed, not Heather. So Jamie is definitely changing the history in time. Yeah. Next, we cut to 2023. We learned that Amelia managed to make a... Oh, no. We cut to the hospital, and no one is actually believing the kids that there's someone who is out trying to, kill. And I don't believe the police were taking people seriously. The kids started to question Kara because Kara seemed to have disappeared while Heather was being killed. So she's she's on the outs of the group.
Right.
And of course, the police sheriff at the time, obviously believes
Kara's
his daughter.
dad. Yeah.
And that's Kara's dad, like you said, so then we jump a few days, and Lauren is the one that manages to make a time machine, and the time machine creates some type of signal for the phone. So things are looking good. We learn more about Damien. It seems like during some type of not recess, but some type of break in school, Jamie observes Damien driving aggressively, and he's driving like a beat up van. She's like, okay, he's a little bit sus, let me check him out. We need to find this killer immediately. She manages to break into his van. It's covered in blankets and games and bike somehow. And she's trying to do some more snooping. She left the door open, and suddenly Damien returns, and they're both shocked. And she starts to question him, but we quickly realize that Damien is not a threat. He just likes video games, and he's kind of a loner. He's a little bit weird, but there's really no problem with Damien. He's probably just a bit of a loner because he's recovering from the death of his sister, and no one really seemed to appreciate him. Yeah, he doesn't seem to have a good amount of friends, so he's struggling. So you do feel some type of way about Damien / Lurch.
100%.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Doug shows up. He's like, what y'all doing? And we learn that Doug has been practicing karate for the past 4 years. So he wants in on trying to find this killer. We cut a few days later, and we realize that the prototype needs to be connected to some type of battery to actually make it function. So the quantum drop at the carnival seems like the perfect place for this time machine to be placed. And it's a crazy spinning ride that looks like makes everyone puke, and it seems like it has enough power for this time machine. But now we learn that it is Marissa who managed to survive. Pam, Randy, Blake are all in on Jamie's secret. They all think that Jamie is psychic. And now they're working to try and lure the killer to the carnival and hopefully toward Marissa, who is next to be killed. Marissa is not about this plan. She is a little bit scared. But they're all like, no, don't be scared. We'll all have weapons and we will support you. The goal is to lure the killer to the
Like a
doll
maze or
house of
something. Yeah.
horrors.
Mm.
And you go there pretending like you're just gonna give some dude a blowjob. She's like, yeah, I've done that before. I can do that. So that's the plan. What do you think about this plan, Mika?
I think it's fantastic. This is a pretty remarkable death. First we have, what's her name? Jan, the one who dies on the waterbed. Like, we just have some like, pretty interesting death. It's just like the very it's a very like a sexual smoky sort of time back in, what is it, 1985? Yeah. I mean, she was braver than me. I will say that. That was for sure. Her and her bouffant, whatever, the hairspray, everything was just, it was working. She was working her way through this house of horrors. Do you remember that part where she says, so she's working her way through this house of horrors, and then she sees they have these bodies suspended from the ceiling. Like, obviously, like, they're plastic. But then she sees a pair of underwear on one of these bodies, and she's like, I have those. And I'm like, this bitch is hilarious. Oh my god.
She got distracted by the panties on a mannequin.
I cannot stand stuff like this, though. Like, have you been in one of these haunted houses where like they have stuff that is like swinging from the ceiling, and then no,
and they always manage to fit them closely together, so you must brush by all of these objects that are hanging, and it obscures your view. So it's very claustrophobic, it's very icky because you don't know what's on those objects. It's a very creepy environment, and I gotta say, they really did manage to make this Dollhouse of Horrors incredibly scary. Very, very, very scary. We can also see some of the friends strategically placed wearing masks in the House of Horrors. So we do know that they're there. They exist. And they're watching out. They're watching out for the killer. But I gotta say, I don't know why Randy, who was the first to see the killer enter, didn't act immediately. What was that about?
I don't know if it's like wait to ambush I don't know what their initial plan was, because like you said, we see the killer moving our way through, and then what's her name? Marissa? Jamie. So then Jamie like drops a wrench. I don't know who the hell carries around wrenches these days, but she drops a wrench, and then the killer attacks her. But I'm like, it would have made more sense to just like blitz the guy. You don't want your enemy to be prepared.
Yeah. But I gotta say, when the killer does attack Jamie, it doesn't take too long for all of the friends to unite and realize, something's up. And they do manage to beat him up pretty bad. They beat him up enough to kill him. I gotta say. And Marissa survives. That's great. They take off the mask, and we learn that the killer was Doug, our sweet Doug. It was him. It was so sad.
Douglas.
I know. Douglas.
This is why you don't cross a nerd.
Exactly.
Because we will come for you wearing the mask of a white man.
Exactly. So we have to figure out why Doug decided to kill. And we learned that he was dating Trish. And there is a picture of her in his locket, and that helps the girls recall that they invited Trish over to a sleepover, to question her about the rumor that was going around school that she was sleeping with Coach Zane, which we assume is a teacher at their high school. They get Trish very drunk at the sleepover, and they pretend like they're friends. And while she continues to deny that she's ever had some type of sexual relationship with the teacher, they don't believe them, and they begin to pester her, and she gets so upset that she runs away. She runs upstairs and calls Doug. We assume that she calls Doug, and then she decides to leave the sleepover. But remember that she's been drinking, and that's how she ends up dying, by drinking and driving. So it is a tragic accident, and we assume that Doug is trying to take revenge on this friend group. We assume that it is all of the Mollies who are participating in this scheme, and Jamie is really upset about that because she thought that Pam, her mom, wouldn't do something like that, and it turns that's actually the case. Not Trish, but Tiffany, I believe, and Pam were on the outs at the time, so Pam was invited to the party, and for that reason, the relationship between mother and daughter is still pretty okay. And then suddenly another killer arrives, Mihika. Things were moving so fast in that whole sequence of events, but the killer arrives again, and he takes everyone by surprise by slicing the throat of Marissa, pardon me. So she falls to the ground, everyone scatters, and they are, everyone for themselves, essentially.
True friendship.
Yes. One shocking thing, well, not one, there's multiple shocking things that happen in this movie, but Kara is the one that manages to kill Doug, and everyone is shocked that this scythe that she was holding in the carnival is actually real. Who goes in with such a huge weapon? Ew.
I do every single day, Caprice.
Oh my
I carry around.
You carry around, girl.
Yeah, no, it's scary. It was really scary, especially to think that like a 17-year-old is carrying around this weapon ready to murder someone. But so often it's like when you like see slasher movie, I wouldn't even really count this as like a full-fledged slasher movie because it had so many comedic elements, but sometimes you're just like, why aren't you wearing a bulletproof vest? Like, why are you not, like, why don't you have pepper spray or something? So in that way, like, I'm glad that like some of the female characters were definitely smarter than what we've seen in some other movies, especially because like she was like a pothead, like she was like neck deep in weed for like most of the scenes that we saw her in, so it was like a unexpected but fun twist.
Yes. And she also pulls out a gun to shoot at the second killer, saying that her dad gave her a gun to protect her. So yeah, I mean, Kara is a bit of a surprise. She's definitely not the killer, which is good. But she did come protecting, willing to protect herself at all costs.
She like showed up for like a geography exam and then wrote like a math exam at the same time. She was just like, bitch, I am crushing this shit. Like, bring me back. Give me a sequel.
Yeah, she knew what's up, and she did her absolute best, which I appreciated. She was kind of mean to people, but she redeemed herself. So moving on, somehow Jamie ends up making it to the quantum drop, and she's egged on by Lauren, who knows about this whole scheme, but she's just saying, yes, there's a killer still somehow. There's a second killer. It's probably because of the time machine that was created in 2023. We don't want anything else to happen, and we need you, meaning Jamie, to return to your own time. So this isn't the plan, but just go ahead and try the quantum drop, use the time machine, and return to your own time. And that's the last that we see of Lauren. It was really sad, but Jamie makes her way to the to the ride. The killer follows her, and there's a bit of fighting that ensues. They start the time machine, and we assume, oh my gosh, the killer is going back to 2023 with her. Next thing you know, Pam jumps on the time machine. She manages to take out the killer, but somehow they survive. The quantum drop is spinning incredibly fast. They have this really cool scene where the killer manages to walk on the side of the not the roller coaster, the ride. But Pam isn't able to move fast enough, and he stabs her. Jamie is very concerned that, you know, if her mom dies, she's also not going to survive or not have any type of family of her own when she returns to the future, returns back to her own time. So she ejects the door to the ride, and Pam flies out. The killer somehow doesn't, and it's an all-out duel between the killer and Jamie. We learn that it's actually Chris.
Dun, dun, dun. Yep.
Chris returned. That mofo. Also, Chris managed to kill multiple people before he made his way onto the quantum drop. I missed that piece. But he killed his own dad while he was televising the fair. I know. Killed his own dad, killed other people, and then jumped on this roller coaster.
We love a multitasking king. Yes.
It's like, while I'm here, I'm just going to take out a few other people I don't like. And Chris justifies killing his father because apparently young Chris was being abused in some type of way. And he really didn't like his dad. So he thought, if there's any opportunity for young Chris to continue living his life without this awful person around, then why not take the opportunity? And exactly what Chris did.
That he did.
Yeah. But Sabrina, pardon me? Slip. But Jamie manages to kill Chris, and she returns to her own time. She returns to 2023, and things are okay. What did you think? What do you think was going to happen when she returned to 2023?
Okay, here's the thing. When it comes to like this, like time travel kind of like these movies and shows and stuff, sometimes I wonder, how do you know for sure that your family's gonna live in the same place? How are you so certain about some stuff? You know what I mean? Because you never know. Like, what if they move to like Nebraska or something? Like, what if they're all monks now? We don't know what it could be. But I was happy for her in that, you know, everything, there was a complete circle moment in that her family does live in the same spot. They have like pretty much the same personality. But everything just seems like better adjusted now. And her conversation with Lauren was so wholesome, and I loved it so much, and it made me so happy.
Sweet. It was so nice to see how things worked out. Her entering her childhood home, yelling for her mom was so sweet, given that the last thing that she said to her mom was cruel. And they seem to have a decent relationship, perhaps a little bit better than what they had before. And then we see Amelia and old Lauren, and it's so amazing. Lauren is a boss bitch, girl. They have a bit of a back and forth on the steps, but I can't forget that Jamie's actually not Jamie. Her name is Colette now, because Jamie has an older brother, apparently. So Blake and Pam get together way earlier than they should have. Colette has an older brother who's actually named Jamie, and interesting sidetrack. And we have a last few moments with older Lauren and Jamie, and it's really sweet. I can only imagine what Lauren managed to tell Amelia and what their relationship is like too. Can you imagine?
Oh,
that would be such a boss relationship. Yeah, so much fun. They're both incredibly smart. And the way that they can live life confidently. I really
Mhm.
appreciated that.
Mhm.
Um,
100%.
and then we have an epilogue that proceeds
Mhm.
throughout the ending credits, and
Mhm.
we realize that that Lauren is a biochemist. Amazing. That Amelia and Colette now are still great friends. We learn that oh gosh, we learned that I think his name is Eddie, the musician. That
Mhm.
he wrote a song called "A Waterbed Away," which is freaking ridiculous. So dumb.
Caprice,
Oh my
he's an
god.
artist. Let it happen.
Just
Creatives.
so cringe. So cringe. And something I completely forgot about was the discussion that Jamie and Lurch and what's his name, Doug, had at the back of the van. Oh god, Lurch had said, maybe Trish would have survived if she gave blowjobs because Eddie had left the room after she learned that she ain't gonna give a blowjob.
No, not Trish. The other one, Jan.
Jan? Who's Jan?
The girl who died on the waterbed.
Tiffany.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Sorry. Tiffany. Tiffany
She was
might
like,
be a
maybe
lot.
my sister would have survived if she gave
Oh yeah.
blowjobs.
Yeah. My mistake. Yeah.
I love Jamie's reaction to all this stuff. She's just like, no, that's not the lesson we're getting from no, no, no.
Not the lesson. But we have an interesting development with Lurch. He managed to put together a anti-bullying campaign to commemorate his sister, and he has an album collection, album and a game collection as well. Things are looking up for him, and a young Chris who, as an older Chris, became a murderer. He managed to become incredibly distraught with the public killing of his father and is living out his life in a monastery. And you know what? Lauren has her eye on him, because you never know.
You really never know.
Yeah.
Because he was something else. His monologue when like he's revealed as, I guess, like the second killer, that was in like when he was like, you know how hard it is to make a podcast about murders from 35 years ago. I'm like, sir, nobody asked you to make a podcast about, like, how is it these people's fault?
Exactly.
I like how the solution wasn't, oh, I'll make a podcast about something else. It'll like, I'll kill more people and then I'll get the viewership or like whatever, the listening ship. Oh, it was crazy. Crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ugh. What a dum-dum.
What a dum-dum.
What did you think about this movie overall?
I thought it was fun. It's definitely not like it's not like a movie to be taken super, super seriously, but if you want to have a good time, especially like yesterday was Halloween, it's like the perfect spooky season for stuff like this. Yeah, I really, you know that I love horror movies. So anything to just continue expanding the genre, I love all this stuff. And I like a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, which is it's absolutely the truth for Totally Killer. But what did you think about it?
I liked it as well. I felt like it was a fast-paced film that like kind of put a spin on the typical slasher film with the time travel piece. We got some fantasy elements or magical realism, I suppose, and the character development was quite interesting. I like that they stayed on track with the plot, and I think the themes about, like sexuality and motherhood and being gracious to people, because you may not understand their history and who they are and what their character is. I think all of those themes were very lightly touched on throughout the film, but really it's meant for fun. That's really what the story is about. So overall, good.
Good.
Yeah,
It's good. It's good for a good time, for sure. Yeah.
I agree. Okay.
Great. Yay! First podcast episode done. Woo-hoo!